Hi, my name's Fraser. I'm a serving captain on a ferry and co-founder of Propel. It's been a tough year for seafarers, working through the pandemic, ensuring ships kept sailing and vital goods continued to be delivered. I am proud of the sacrifices seafarers have made and continue to make, often at the expense of your own welfare and well-being, and sometimes brought upon by difficult circumstances and situations. We at Propel believe you deserve better. That's why we've designed a platform bringing seafarers together, enabling you to control your career and get that dream job. On Propel there are many features to help you manage your career and find that dream job, but some of the ones I think you will find most useful are the ability to build your digital discharge book, which includes the competencies, experience and training that shipping companies want to know. No more endless hours of preparing and sending hundreds of CVs out, never to hear anything back. With Propel, you enter your information once and then relax. Propel will also provide a digital home for your certificates, monitoring their status and alerting you before they expire, meaning you will always be fit to sail. Propel also allows you to connect, network and engage with other seafarers inside cabins on our main deck to discuss the issues that matter, comment on maritime news and post shipping memes. Propel has been built by seafarers for seafarers, and we have developed Propel bespoke to your needs. At Propel we will always be on your side, and this is demonstrated in our Propel pledges. Never ever charging a seafarer to access Propel or apply for a job. Always respecting and protecting your data and committed to ensuring that your voice is heard. So welcome to Propel and good luck finding that dream job.
Welcome to the Philippine Maritime Situationer, a webinar in celebrations of Marino World's 16th anniversary. I am Bakani, your host. Why focus on the Philippines? Because it plays a vital role in the shipping industry, in the bounce back of the world from the wreckage of the COVID pandemic. Also, the Philippines is the largest supplier of seafarers for the world's merchant fleet. Today, the Maritime Industry Authority is the sole flag administration of the country. And once more, the Marina Administrator will dialogue with the majors of the industry on vaccination rollout, crew change, crew claims, reforms on education and training. Please welcome our primary guest, Administrator Robert Empedrad, our very hardworking, retired Vice Admiral. Administrator Empedrad, please.
Thank you very much, Lynn, and congratulations to the Marino World for your 16th anniversary, and I'm happy that you have invited me to be part of this celebration. Thank you. So again, welcome to this webinar hosted by the Marino World in line with their 16th anniversary, and again the topic is the theme is entitled Philippine Maritime Situationer. And I'd like to present a short brief on what is going on as far as the maritime industry is concerned. Next slide, please. First and foremost, I'd like to update everyone on what's going on with the EMSA audit. As I always mention, the report or the audit report or the assessment report from the European Committee has not been released as of this date. And once this is released in any time in the future, I heard a reliable report that the result will be published either this week or first week of December. That being the case, the Philippines is given 2 months to submit its corrective action and proof of implementation on the findings of EMSA. So we are given 2 months to submit. And then once they see our strategic corrective actions, the safety of seas of the European member state will come up with the final decision whether to sustain the assessment report of the EC or will overturn the report of the EC based on the substantial corrective action that was submitted to them. Next slide, please. These are the action taken to address EMSA findings. In line with our continuous coordination with CHED, we have completed the following corrective action. 49 have been completed and 10 are still ongoing, but in the final phase, and this shall be completed not later than December of 2021. The second one is we involved our stakeholders to further improve our corrective actions and measures that are put in place. Before, the stakeholders were not involved, but now we are thankful and grateful to the stakeholders because they are actively involved in improving the corrective actions that we are preparing for EMSA. The third one is we are coming up with a draft of the EMSA corrective primer, and this will be submitted to them. And since we are already in the final phase of printing our primer, we will continue to improve it until such time that we receive our report, the report from the EC. The fourth one is we are conducting survey to our maritime stakeholders. We subjected the corrective action to our maritime stakeholders. If they are satisfied with what we have done, if they want to add some more, then they can add, and then we integrate it again until we come up with the final report. The fifth actions that we have done is we engaged the IMO, and they did a capacity building workshop to our personnel, because one of the findings of EMSA is some of our audit team are not capacitated. They lack the training that is required by the STC convention. But now we came up with an engagement with IMO. They did two training already to our audit team. The first one is a scoping exercise conducted last April of 2021. The second phase of the training was conducted in September to October. And the third phase of training will be conducted in December of 2021. Next slide, please. Now, may I go to the next part of my brief, which is the crew change. You know that we have opened our ports as crew change hubs. That is Manila, Bataan, Subic, Batangas, Cebu, and Davao. In line with the directive of our secretary, the Department of Transportation, Secretary Tugade, these 6 ports will be a post-pandemic ports for crew change. Even though the pandemic is gone, we will continue to open this for crew change, not only for our Filipino seafarers, but even foreign nationals. So we are making our country an international crew change hubs. We will also open 2 more ports in the future. And next slide, please. So in line with the crew change, that the ports that we open up, we establish one-stop shop wherein the seafarers can do their RT-PCR testing, their quarantine procedures, and then their travel to their respective places. If you are a foreign national, you go to the airport to fly back to your country. There are 4,826 ships so far that has been served by the 6 ports, and totaling 81,057 seafarers since the opening of this port more than a year ago. Next slide, please. as far as the inbound of passengers coming from the airport, in early of 2021, we allowed 2,000 inbound passengers in the airport, but now this has opened up based on the guidance of IATF to 5,500, and most likely by December of this year, it will increase from 6,500 to 7,500 inbound passengers. So this is very good for our seafarers who are still aboard ship or in the other countries waiting for them to be coming home in our country. Next slide, please. These are the data of various arrival in the international airport in our country. You notice here that the running total of the number of entry in our international airport is 1.6 million, and sea-based totaling 515,000 entry. Next slide, please. So there are new changes in the protocols, the ever-changing protocols in line with the pandemic. And if a particular seafarer comes in vaccinated with negative swab result, if he comes from other countries, from a green country, there will be no quarantine required. But if he comes from a yellow country, then he is required to do 3-day quarantine. And if he comes from a red flag country, then he will be required to do a 10-day quarantine. But if he's not vaccinated, then he will do 14-day quarantine regardless of where he came from. Next line, please. The Maritime Industry Authority are also actively involved in the vaccination of our seafarers. In June of 2021, only 1% of Filipino seafarers had been vaccinated. So we created a technical working group to look into this and to speed up the vaccination of our seafarers. The technical working group involves the marina personnel and even our stakeholders coming from the licensed manning agencies. Then the TWG presented its proposal to the Department of Health for the release of vaccines for the seafarers. We were able to get the vaccines on time, and 4 months later, today, November, we still have enough vaccine, and we are having a hard time to produce seafarers to be vaccinated. And we were able to strategically communicated with LGUs that our seafarers are already A1 as far as priority in vaccination is concerned. Next slide, please. Based on our report from the various LMAs, most of them are reporting to Marina that 80% to 90% of their seafarers has been already inoculated. But as far as the program for Marina that involves the AMUSUB, the LMAs, and some of the LGUs, we were able to vaccinate a total of 75,000 seafarers under the program. Next slide, please. For the topic on ambulance chaser, this is the summary of medical disability claims cases that has been reported to Marina. And our program is, once we learn that the seafarers has applied for permanent disability, we will void their licenses and we will no longer allow them to renew their licenses. So what we are doing right now, as far as the ambulance chaser is concerned, we are coming up with a strategic communication, educating our seafarers not to get into the trap of the ambulance chasers, because if they are declared permanent disabled, then they will no longer be able to go aboard ship again in the future. So that's my briefing for the time being, and thank you very much for listening. Be willing to answer questions later on. Thank you.
That's quite a load, Administrator Empedrad. To critique the presentation, we organized an international panel to scalpel the views. Our distinguished panelists, Mr. S. Ben Coulson, Chairman, International Chamber of Shipping, ICS. Mr. Francesco Gargiulo, CEO, International Maritime Employers Council, IMET. Mr. Fabrizio Barcellona, Seafarer Section Coordinator, International Transport Workers Federation, ITF. Dr. Conrad Oca, President, Associated Marine Officers and Seamen's Union of the Philippines, AMOSUP. Attorney Iris Bagilat, Founding Member and Trustee, ALMA Maritime Group. Mr. Erickson Marquez, Vice President for External Affairs, Joint Manning Group, JMG. Let's start with a reaction of ICS Chairman Poulson. Sir Esben, please.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation to join this panel. I was very interested to hear from Vice Admiral Empedrad about the, I must say, very encouraging sounding statistics, particularly in terms of crew change in 6, now soon to be 8 Philippine ports, and of course the vaccination progress. Vaccinations has been something that we at ICS, apart from crew change, which has occupied a great deal of our time since February of 2020. I think the vaccination is absolutely crucial. We have maintained and do maintain and continue to maintain that seafarers are key workers. The International Labour Convention is very clear on this. The Maritime Labour Convention is extremely clear on this, and yet many governments, far too many governments, simply time and again fail to live up to their solemn written undertakings to comply with this and to make our valued and respected seafarers key workers, which they are totally entitled to be, along with other forms of transport workers. In any event, the statistic we have is that the contract period, in excess of contract period, has fallen from 7.9% to 7.1%, which is still too much, but at least at the moment it's in the right direction. And the aggregate of total seafarers, according to our statistics, has grown from 31% in October to about 41% now. So I think this is encouraging, but we have a very long way to go. But as I say, I was very encouraged by much of what the Vice Admiral had to say. Thank you.
Next for his reaction is Mr. Gajulo of IMET, please.
Thank you, Lynn, and thank you everyone for inviting us at Marino. Obviously, we want to echo our congratulations for your 16th anniversary. That's a great achievement, and we hope many more years will follow. We followed the presentation from Vice Admiral Empedrad with much interest. I have to say, the areas that we have been pleased with are the increase in the number of landings allowed in the Philippines. That's been a massive choke point as far as our industry is concerned. Our members have been complaining to us about the actual number of slots, which has created a bottleneck, and with that a huge surge in costs as far as both flights and all other arrangements that are linked to crew members' repatriations in particular. The other area that I wanted to comment on at this stage, and I mean, there's lots in the presentation that is interesting, and I don't really want to repeat what Mr. Poulson talked about. So I wanted to perhaps comment on the statistics for the ambulance chasing initiative. Yes, 20 revoked license is a number. Would I wish more efforts from the government in this particular area? 100%. This is a massive area of concern. For those of you that have read our 2021 review, you will have seen that we continue to get a lot of complaints from our members. Our members are obviously all major employers in the maritime sector. And this is the #1 issue that I think the Philippine administration should be addressing right now. This is what is putting off employers. And obviously, the Philippines continues to be the biggest source of manpower for our industry, and it's greatly appreciated. Having said that, it has competitors, and these competitors have been able to take advantage of this particular situation, which has been going on for years now. It is fairly clear from the comments of our members that they are exploring other avenues. I suppose one of the things that has been a great positive, if we want to look at it this way, is the fact that China has made itself almost an impossible alternative, and that used to be the Philippines' key alternative. Having said that, members that haven't really pursue China anymore because of all the complications that have come with employing Chinese seafarers and so on and so forth, have been focusing on other maritime sources. I mean, we see Vietnam becoming a source. They haven't got the numbers, but it's still an alternative. India has become the alternative as far as ratings in particular are concerned. Ukraine, another massive alternative. That's both for officers and ratings. I mean, the perfect example is the fact that we run a very, very successful cadet program in the Philippines, and we've done this for 12, 13 years now. We run this with the Maritime Academy of Asia Pacific, and we currently have around 1,000 cadets in the system. It's a very successful system, program, which obviously delivers great results. Having said that, it's now become less central to our organization because we launched the idea of a cadet program in Ukraine, and we had more requests for Ukrainian cadets than we normally have for Filipino cadets. This is a massive signal as far as we are concerned. And I think it's something that the Philippines institutions need to focus on. They need to focus on the fact that the alternatives are out there, and the biggest issue that pushes people away from the Philippines is ambulance chasing. And so I think without wanting to make too much of a single issue conversation here, I think that's where we should be focusing on right now. Thank you.
Would like to ask your perspective, President of Amsoul, Dr. Conrad Aka, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Lynn, and happy anniversary to you, and good afternoon or good morning to everybody who on board right now. So as Admiral Empedrad has just said, crew change, vaccination, efforts against ambulance chasing, and adherence to addressing the EMSA issues. We have been working hand in hand together with Admiral Empedrad in addressing all these issues. The union has been working hand in hand with Admiral Empedrad, not only the Amsoul, the union or the other unions as well, but also with the licensed manning agents groups as well, like JMG of Mr. Marquez and Halma of Attorney Iris Bagilat. So I think all the efforts that we've been doing is we do it together, government, private sector, and the union and labor also. So I think when labor and the government and the private sector come together, it would be more successful to address all these issues. As you said, Francesca, about the ambulance chasing, we've been planning against some corrective and actions regarding ambulance chasing. I think just the other day we were talking with Alma, and hopefully we can bring in JMG with our plans regarding ambulance chasing. And please rest assured, the rest of the world, that we are doing all our best to become the prime people that you choose for your seafarers, for your seafarers. And I would also like to reiterate also the help that the ITF has been giving us, especially our General Secretary Stephen Cotton, and also Fabrizio. Thank you very much for all the efforts. We have put up a molecular laboratory in our Siemens Hospital, and vaccination facilities are in place right now. And together with IMET, with Francesco, we also put up our safe crew change initiative, so that we can bring more seafarers, Filipino seafarers out there who are COVID-free. So I think just working together, people here around this forum right now, working together, I think we will be quite successful. But as Francesco said, there are always alternatives, and we have to, I guess, we have to work even harder right now, especially in the pandemic, in the times of the pandemic, so that we can bring back the glory days of the Filipino seafarers. Again, thank you very much, and mabuhay po tayo lahat. Thank you.
May we hear from ITF Coordinator, Mr. Barceliano, please?
I thank you, and let me congratulate the speaker that has come before me for your anniversary, and thank you very much for the invitation to be here today, which I think it is an important event because it's a reminder that the situation has improved, but we are not there yet. I think I follow with interest the presentation on Mr. Empedrad. And the 75,000 seafarers today vaccinated is a remarkable achievement. But looking at the number, probably that represents 1/4 or 1/5 of the total Filipino workforce. And Francesco has mentioned, unfortunately, or luckily for other countries, that have a different approach toward the pandemic. They were able to offer seafarers to the market. Now, what Conrado mentioned, and also the other speakers, is that the industry has set aside their differences and come together to assist the seafarers, and especially in the Philippines, with the assistance of the government, the local unions, the Shipowner Association, and all the agents, was possible to put in place something that in my opinion, it is unique, but of course, that if something more can be done, would be much appreciated. And I know that everyone worked toward this, achieving this goal. And now the situation of the crew changes has improved, and now we have moved on the vaccination. And I would add another layer on the record of vaccination, because I think that the problem that we are going to face is with all different rules and regulation around the world. The proof of vaccination in an untampered way will be the key for allowing seafarers to move freely around the world. And I think in the presentation was also mentioned the relation with the European Union, and I believe that the Philippines is like one of those countries that have asked to align their certificate of vaccination for seafarers to the Green Pass issue in Europe, and that will be a step that will allow seafarers to travel freely from the Philippines to Europe and beyond. I think that without naming and shaming anyone, we have been open as an industry that the WHO could come up with an agreed position on how the certificate of vaccination could look like to be acceptable everywhere in the world. That has not happened yet, but I think it would be probably important to mention that the industry itself has come together and have asked the United Nations to take in their hand the organization for an UN agency meeting, and include the social partner or the industry, to highlight what are the issues today, and if through the office of the UN General Secretary to pull everything together in one place, so we can finally discuss the issues that are not so much affecting the Maritime Authority, but the health authority in the different country, immigration, interior, and exterior ministry, that has been the bottleneck that the industry has faced in the past 18 months. So just to mention that we are working, we have not given up absolutely on the issue of crew changes, and with all the potential new variances of the COVID, we are really concerned that this winter, at least in the northern hemisphere, there will be again restriction put in place, that we need to be ready to respond to the potential blockage that some country will put not only to seafarers but passengers in general. So thank you.
And now let's hear from Attorney Babilat of
Good afternoon.
Maritime Group.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Lynn, and congratulations to you on your anniversary. I am grateful for the opportunity to sit down and speak with everyone because the matters were raised today were actually our biggest concerns over the past couple of years. And I would just like to highlight that my greatest gratitude is the fact that Marina listens. Admin Bob doesn't get tired of, us nagging him constantly on the key issues that he raised. He has always been receptive to what we are saying in the industry side. And all these drives, I remember the vaccination issue, we started the conversation on this as early as January this year. It took us time, a lot of lobbying, especially from admin side, up and down lobbying to put us up to A1 category for the seafarers. And now many of our seafarers have joined vessels fully vaccinated. It was 0 in my company, for example, we were 0 in June, and now we're at up to 96% and hopefully 100% by November. So this is the vaccination rate that we have arrived at because of the close collaboration with both the union and the government. And this is what Dr. Oka highlighted earlier, that if we, in this time of crisis, it's important to really work together. And hopefully this is an example. And also on the crew change from last year, we have been also lucky that we were part of the ITF IMET crew safe facility. And of course, with that, we were able to bring seafarers on our ships that are safe, that are not spreaders of COVID. And without perhaps that facility, it would have been extremely difficult for us to keep our vessels safe. And these are just examples of how we have overcome the crisis. The crew change, we have been lobbying heavily. To anyone who would listen to me, I would just sit down all kinds of media outlets, radio, DGTV, everywhere, just to hammer on the point that we needed to increase our inbound flights coming home. That has been a long, tedious exercise. And thankfully, we're now seeing the results. 7,500 daily entry is still far from the 33,000 entry we had pre-pandemic, but it is way higher than the 2,000 we were suffering from some months ago. And hopefully, notwithstanding the surge in Europe and also in Africa that's happening now, we can still bring home our seafarers. Of course, the key problem is the flight costs, which is a direct cost that's hurting the ship owners. But hopefully, with the increased number of inbound passengers, hopefully the surge now in Europe and in Africa will not affect this, and we can still bring home our people. And this is also a result of a lot of lobbying, listening from the side of government, because as in any place in the world, we are not mainstream. Our industry is not mainstream. There's very little understanding of why crew change is a safety issue on the ships. So it took a lot of explaining why it is not just a matter of bringing home our seafarers, our overseas foreign workers, but to avoid safety concerns on board. And with that, we went up to the IATF itself to lobby, and with the airlines, we managed to bring it up. And I'm grateful for the opportunity for government to really listening, and the support also of the industry and the union. Now, EMSA we're still facing it, and as Admin Mava has said, the industry is also helping. Now, the key point of ambulance chasing, this is something that we have been talking about for several years already. And as Dr. Oka mentioned, we did have a meeting with him, the Alma Maritime group, on this key issue. And we think that if we are more creative with our responses, we don't attack this traditionally as was being done in the past, with the help of the clubs, the unions, the employer associations, as well as the local manning agencies, we can lobby also with government to be able to curb ambulance chasing. In our discussions, we think we will have some ways around it, and hopefully we will succeed moving forward. And I know that this is also on top of the administrator's mind, because he's been reminding, starting a campaign about it as well, against this. and on the watch list, a suspension of MARINA of those who have initiated claims. This is something that they have been doing, although there's a bit of a reservation on the legal side from some of the lawyers. But I think in time, this will be sorted out after a thorough discussion. And it's, well, first is that we survived the pandemic, and we're very grateful for that. We are still, we don't know how long this will last, but we are seeing signs of hope. And hope is just something we can hold on to in the midst of all these challenges. And as we've been saying, when we started ALMA last year, we were traditional competitors in the manning agencies. But then we have to come together and work because we needed to survive together and put down all our competition and cooperate closely. And then we have reached out to the employers. We have widened our circle with the union and with the government in order to reach unprecedented results. And I think with all the challenges that we have that have been listed, we have been able to manage many of them. We will manage more if we continue to work together. And this is just my message of gratitude to everyone, and thank you for working with us, for being very patient, for listening, for keeping your doors open, and for allowing us also to speak, and then to really sit down and find ways forward. Thank you for this.
Let's hear from Mr. Marquez of JMG. Do you share the same perspective, sir?
Yes, thank you very much, Ms. Lynn. And firstly, congratulations to Marino World on your anniversary. Let me start by informing everyone that from a zero deployment in April, from April to about June in 2020, our POA has reported that as of September 31, 2021, the POA's deployment has jumped already to 217,223 sea-based personnel, representing about 39.51% of the original pool of deployed seafarers. No? This is a very significant and encouraging development as far as our seafaring industry is concerned, because it means that things have been done to improve the situation during the pandemic period. No? And to comment a bit about the wonderful report of our good administrator, Bob Empedrad, the Joint Manning Group would just want to confirm that indeed MARINA in particular has been very helpful to the industry in engaging the industry, consulting the industry, and finding solutions to problems that beset the industry when the pandemic started. No? And the result, as Admin Empedrad has reported, is that the Philippines has become one of the major crew change hubs in the world. And without the 6 ports that were opened by the Philippines, I believe that crew changes would have been significantly more difficult during the past 10 months, if not for these ports being made available to replace the long staying crew on board all our vessels. No? We also confirmed that as far as EMSA is concerned, MARINA has been trying their best to engage the industry to find solutions that will address the significant findings of the EMSA audit team. No? And this is made possible because, as my colleague has said, MARINA has been in the listening end instead of from the one who is from the talking end. We are very happy that we have an administrator and an office that is now engaging the industry to find solutions to this. And one of the things that was mentioned by one of our colleagues from IMEC is the problem of cadets. Indeed, the IMEC and the IMET of Japan has been the major contributory factors in the success of the Maritime Academy of Asia and the Pacific. We sponsor about 400 cadets every year who are guaranteed sponsorship slots or cadetship slots on board vessels of IMEC and IMET. And for this reason, we have been continuously trying to discuss with MARINA how this kind of programs could be encouraged with other shipping nations who continue to employ Filipino seafarers. No? And of course, one of them is to make sure that our maritime curriculum is vastly improved so that the quality of the graduates will be better. And I'm sure, and I can also confirm that MARINA, being the head of the technical panel for maritime education together with CHED, has been doing its role in trying its best to find better ways of educating our seafarers. The only other issues that remain is the matter of apprenticeship. No? And MARINA has just recently discussed with our domestic shipping industry how the domestic shipping vessels can contribute to train our graduating students from these maritime education institutes so that they can become part of the pool that can later on move on to the international vessels. No? And we hope that MARINA will finally find some solutions to the matter of how long cadets must be trained and how they must be trained so that we can enjoy the privilege of once again claiming our premier position as the #1 supplier of seafarers in the world. As far as the legal problems are concerned, we of course acknowledge that MARINA's decision to cancel licenses or Seaman's book of crew members who had been declared to be totally and permanently disabled, no, as a proper step towards improving our legal system, no, as far as those who try to take advantage of an illness in getting money from the principals as in terms of compensation. This matter has been discussed lengthily, not only with our government executive branches, but in Congress as well. And we hope to be able to find a compromise solution or way out of the box solution so that the government will find a way to be able to stop seafarers with the aid of these ambulance chasing lawyers to put a stop to this practice that has been hurting the industry since maybe 10 or 15 years ago. So with this, we'd like the Joint Money Group would like to thank the Marino World and the people who are part of this webinar. We will be happy to answer any questions that you may want to ask regarding other issues that is now active in the present situation in the Philippine mining industry. Thank you very much, and good day to everyone.
Indeed, everyone speaks directly. Remain on board. We will continue to critique the views. The Philippine Maritime Situationer will be back after a short break.
Hi, my name's Fraser. I'm a serving captain on a ferry and co-founder of Propel. It's been a tough year for seafarers, working through the pandemic, ensuring ships kept sailing and vital goods continued to be delivered. I am proud of the sacrifices seafarers have made and continue to make, often at the expense of your own welfare and well-being, and sometimes brought upon by difficult circumstances and situations. We at Propel believe you deserve better. That's why we've designed a platform bringing seafarers together, enabling you to control your career and get that dream job. On Propel, there are many features to help you manage your career and find that dream job. But some of the ones I think you will find most useful are the ability to build your digital discharge book, which includes the competencies, experience and training that shipping companies want to know. No more endless hours of preparing and sending hundreds of CVs out, never to hear anything back. With Propel, you enter your information once and then relax. Propel will also provide a digital home for your certificates, monitoring their status and alerting you before they expire, meaning you will always be fit to sail. Propel also allows you to connect, network and engage with other seafarers inside cabins on our main deck to discuss the issues that matter, comment on maritime news and post shipping memes. Propel has been built by seafarers for seafarers, and we have developed Propel bespoke to your needs. At Propel, we will always be on your side, and this is demonstrated in our Propel pledges. Never ever charging a seafarer to access Propel or apply for a job. Always respecting and protecting your data, and committed to ensuring that your voice is heard. So welcome to Propel, and good luck finding that dream job.
This is the Philippine Maritime Situationer, a webinar in celebrations of Marino World 16th anniversary. Here is Vice Admiral Robert Empedrad, joined by major maritime stakeholders. Let's continue to critique the views. And now here's Admiral Empedrad for his reactions on the comments of our panelists.
Thank you very much, Lynn. First of all, if you see the report of UNCTAD on who is number one as far as producing seafarers is concerned, I think the Philippines has become number one again in providing the rating and even the officers for 2020. It's a very encouraging report that we received from UNCTAD. It only shows that the principal owners of ships desire Filipino seafarers, and we are glad that that happened in 2020. And I think one of the reasons why we were able to provide competent and capable seafarers is because of our response to the ongoing pandemic, as mentioned by our distinguished colleagues from LMA Attorney Iris, JMG, Sir Marquez, that the Philippine industry, the maritime industry, not only Marina, but the stakeholders are working together in an all-of-nation approach in addressing the pandemic. So the manning agency and Marina work together to be able to vaccinate our seafarers. Based on the program that I mentioned a while ago, there are 75,000 who were vaccinated by Marina alone. But if you count the number, including those who are vaccinated by the local government units, because we were able to inform them and educate them and make them understand that our seafarers has been upgraded from a priority B4 to an A1, meaning when they go to their respective vaccination center, they should be given priority. And that happened. And that's why today, around 80% to 90% of our seafarers are vaccinated. If you translate that into number, that's about 600 to 700 seafarers that has been vaccinated. Some other countries are having a hard time vaccinating their seafarers, but we have the most number of seafarers. But we are successful in vaccinating our seafarers. As regard to the ambulance chaser, which I think a more important thing here is, the problem is there is what we call an Anti-Privacy Act. So when the seafarers declare that he is sick, they cannot divulge their identity. So it's very hard for Marina to find out who are these Filipino seafarers who have been victimized by the ambulance chaser. So what we are doing right now is, in fact, we are coming up with a memorandum of agreement to be signed between the International Seafarers Welfare and Assistance Network, the National Maritime Polytechnic, the Amsoul, headed by Dr. Oka, and Marina, to come up with an information campaign and educate our seafarers that they should not just agree to the ambulance chaser in signing any document for them to undergo to get the insurance for a permanent disability, even though they are not sick. And the other one is maybe in the future when we can do lectures to our future seafarers on the repercussions if they will agree to a permanent insurance as far as their medical condition is concerned, though they are not really sick. And that's the thing that we are doing as far as ambulance chasing is concerned. It's very tough to identify those who are involved in this one. And for our crew chains, as I said a while ago, we will continue to work with our industry, and we will continue to lobby with IATF to not only to open more ports for our country, but to increase the number of those who are coming in through our international airports. And again, as I said, EMSA, I hope that we will able to get the support of the European Commission or the Safety of Sea, so that we can move on, we can move forward in developing our maritime industry. We have a maritime industry development plan 2028, a 10-year plan, which we cannot focus right now because we are so much involved with the pandemic, with the EMSA, and many other problems, crew change. So I hope that we will be able to be victorious in addressing the pandemic and move forward in making our maritime industry a progressive industry for the progress of our entire nation, the Maritime Philippines. Thank you very much.
Can we hear again from Mr. Coulson of ICS, please?
Thank you very much. Yeah, if I could just make a few comments based on the very interesting interventions from everybody concerned. Francesco quite rightly raised the issue of competition. There is competition, but at the same time, I think if the Philippines supports the revision of the International Convention of Standards of Training, STCW, I think this is an important thing because this is really the future, and there's no reason why this cannot be done and why the Philippines wouldn't actually benefit from this. The skill sets of the future are going to be different. We all know this. Technology is changing very, very quickly. But in my opinion, there is no reason why the Philippines shouldn't continue to enjoy a top position in this field because it is long established, and provided the right steps are taken, which it sounds like they are being, I think it can happen. But we must also remind ourselves as ship owners that we have to provide good jobs for the seafarers. They deserve good jobs. They have stood by their positions through very, very difficult circumstances for these since this pandemic began in the early part of 2020. The world supply chains have been tested to the limit and beyond, and despite very, very difficult circumstances, on the whole, these seafarers have stood by and performed their jobs, and therefore they must also be acknowledged. Again, I come back to the key worker status. I would also say that Fabrizio mentioned the level of cooperation across all our different stakeholders has been. It's ironic that it takes a crisis like this to improve the level of cooperation, but that's fine. I mean, we are where we are, and we're all doing the best we can, and certainly in ICS we've tried to work closely with the ITF amongst others, and we appreciate the cooperation very much that we've had. Iris mentioned the idea that we're an below the radar industry. I'm afraid to say we are, but I think that incidents like the Ever Given has somewhat raised our profile, and I think there is, when things are in short supply on the shelves, suddenly there's a realization that these things don't appear by miracle, that they appear because ships and the crews bring these goods. 90% of the world's goods move by sea, as we all know. We must be very careful because there is, according to our report that we did together with BIMCO, a potential shortfall of some 26,000 officers by 2026. So it is very, very important that we invest in the people, the cadet programs that have already been talked about. Yes, I think I come back to the point that it's a two-way street. We must offer good jobs to the seafarers, and the seafarers, if we can discourage ambulance chasing, certainly it's a complex issue. I'm very, very well aware it's not going to go away overnight, but it is an unfortunate stain that we must try to remove. But all in all, we always say in shipping you have to be an optimist, and I must say I remain optimistic that as a resilient and an adaptable industry, we will do the right things. Thank you.
We encourage our participants to send their questions to our Q&A portion. We will read some of your questions. Meantime, we would like to again call on Mr. Gargiulo for his comments, even for, or if you also want to clarify some things to our panelists.
Thanks, Lynn. I would like, much like Mr. Paulson, I'd like to perhaps address some of the comments that were made by illustrious colleagues. And perhaps I mean, I'm aware the time is limited, and obviously we can't have the conversation I would like to have, which probably be a few hours, never mind a few minutes. But there are a number of issues that have been raised, and I think the Philippines has shone in some of the areas, and I think is showing some difficulties in others. I'd say the EMSA situation, we hear very good things. We hear that Marina has done some great work in trying to address it. We try to do our little bit in terms of the education system in the country. We actually offered a number of train-to-trainer courses out to the Philippines. In fact, we wrote to Vice Admiral Empedrad as well, offering it to Marina employees. And this is something that is already making a difference as far as the quality of the instructions that are delivered in some of the training centers in the Philippines. But that's by the by. I'd say that from a crew change perspective, after a slow start, Marina and the government in the Philippines have done a great job at facilitating both Filipino seafarers and other nationals. So that's, for me, that's a B plus, if not an A minus as far as the scorecard for the Philippines is concerned. They've been one of the few countries that have actually listened to us and listened to the industry's issues. And of course, this has been thanks to the cooperation that everyone is talking about. We've been in so many shared video conferences, and the lobbying has been intense. And for me, the biggest positive out of the pandemic is the way the industry got together with government, got together with unions to lobby together in favor of the seafarers' rights. And I think that's a massive positive for us. As far as the negatives, I suppose, there has been a challenge to the Philippines as a #1 provider. We're still extremely happy to be listing the Philippines as the #1 provider of our membership. And 35% of the seafarers on our members' vessels come from the Philippines. We obviously have our largest training program in the world that's based in the Philippines, and we work with Conrad's institution in Bataan. We have, I mean, as an organization, we've invested over 50 million over the last few years in infrastructure in the Philippines, and another 25 million on the last 3 years alone. I'm making a difference between the two different funding sources that we've utilized over the last 15 years, I would say. So we believe in the Philippines. We want the Philippines to succeed. What we're asking for here is for the Philippines to work with us. And whilst a lot of the industry does work with us, we have a real issue when it comes to the ambulance chasing situation. I appreciate all of the communication efforts and making sure that seafarers understand that actually this money is now basically, by working with the ambulance chasers, they're only damaging themselves and their opportunities, both present and future. I'd say that perhaps information is probably not enough to solve this problem. We've been talking about this for, well, I personally have been talking about this for the last 10 years, and we haven't seen an improvement. If anything, we've seen things get worse. There are things that could have worked. They're not silver bullets. Of course, there was the anti-ambulance chasing bill that was passed, and that's done something. But lawyers, like every good river, it finds an obstacle and there's a way around it. And so that bill hasn't really solved the problem. There is another bill that's been discussed for years now, which is the escrow bill. Because for me, that would be, if not a silver bullet, there would be a major tool that would actually reassure employers that they are not being taken advantage of. The information campaign is great, and then there's a perception that this is a victimless crime because this money is paid by the P&I clubs. Well, the P&I clubs is us, so it's not a victimless crime. And ultimately, those are the things that the Philippines, as a country, need to address to retain their future position. Nobody's questioning that they are #1. But the question is, will they be #1 in 10 years? And the fact that the slow reaction to begin with, when it comes to the pandemic, meant that people looked for alternatives. The people that have looked for those alternatives have found them to be quite viable. And now all of a sudden, those were just alternatives back then. Now people are comparing and saying, hold on a second, if I go to the Ukraine, I can pay the seafarer the same amount of money. There isn't all of the other baggage that comes with it, and there's plenty of them. Do I need to go back to the Philippines? These are the sort of questions that we need to answer. We need to give them reasons why. And we as IMEC, of course, are committed to the Philippines. And we are continuing to invest in the country. We're continuing to try and work with the locals at a global level as well. The problem is we need some help, and this help needs to come from the government here. I'm not really looking at fellow industry representatives. I think this is a government issue, and the government needs to realize these are thousands and thousands of jobs, and good jobs. As husband was saying, really good jobs. Jobs get paid multiples of the average wage in the Philippines. Jobs that bring precious currency, US dollars, into the country. And that's the issue we should be focusing on. So yes, it's great to have an information campaign, but I think we need a little bit more than that in terms of what is the biggest issue as far as the Philippines are concerned. And I know I'm being a bit hard here about this issue, but you must appreciate I'm doing it for the Philippines, because if we don't fix this issue, 10 years down the line, the Philippines will not be number one. Thank you.
Admiral Empedrad.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Francisco, for making a very hard stand here. And yes, I put that in my list of one of our priority programs, even before the end of the year. We have to do away with the EMSA first. And I hope that the report will come out in first week of December. And then we'll come up with probably a workshop or symposium with all the stakeholders and come together. And how do we address the ambulance chasing? And I fully understand your concern. And I also fully understand what's the problem for ambulance chasing, but we'll do our best and come up with a better program, not only information campaign, and go after these people victimizing our seafarers, because if they continue to do so, then principal owners will get other seafarers from other countries, and once the seafaring industry of our country bogs down or collapse, then everybody in the maritime industry will be affected. So I saw the importance, and thank you for raising this issue once again, over and over again. So we'll work this. We'll try to come up with a better solution to the ambulance chaser. Thank you very much, Francisco.
Here's a question from Ambassador Jean Calonge for Administrator Empedrad. Once the findings of EMSA are out and the results show that some school owners are liable, will there be action to be taken against them? Good to see you again, Administrator.
Yeah, thank you very much, my friend, Engineer Ambassador Jean Calonge. Sir, even we have not received the report from EMSA. We already sanctioned the schools that has been who are not compliant to the STCW convention. In fact, based on our report from the shed, we recommended 17 courses offered by the Maritime Higher Education Institution to be shut down. So yes, sir. We don't have to wait for EMSA to sanction these schools. We are doing that now as part of our improvement of the process that we are doing. We don't wait for a third party that will audit our schools, but we ourselves, once we found out that they are violating any requirements of the STCW, then we will sanction them as soon as possible. Thank you very much for that question, sir.
Would you like to react on EMSA issue, Mr. Marquez of JMG, please?
I have no more reaction to the EMSA issue because we are familiar with what Marina has been doing, and we have actually been part of the finding solutions to all these findings that had been issued by the EMSA. No?
Mr. Gargiulo of IMET, are you satisfied with the answer of our administrator, Empedrad?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm grateful that he's taking this seriously, and I look forward to progress in the right direction when it comes to the ambulance chasing. As I said, we're happy with the way Marina has approached the pandemic, and obviously that's something that is pleasing. It's pleasing that I have to say one of the biggest things that came out as well, which wasn't necessarily expected or forecast, was that the Philippines has now become a major crew change hub, and that's all thanks to the opening up of the ports and the flexibility and the facilities put in place. That's a great result. So many more ships are now deviating and going through Manila rather than perhaps stick to the old-fashioned, crew changes in Singapore and so on and so forth, just to name a few. Singapore, Hong Kong being two of the major hubs that experience some challenges, and the Philippines have clearly enjoyed some success in this area. So we're pleased with that. As I said, those are not our main concerns. We also hear good things about the EMSA, the reaction to the EMSA findings or preliminary findings.
Mr. Paulson, please.
Yeah, I think it is encouraging that to hear that these issues that have been so thoroughly highlighted, particularly the ambulance station by Francesco, it is indeed a very, very serious issue, and it's heartening to hear that is receiving and will receive the attention that it needs. Thank you.
Here's an advanced question received from a young seafarer, Wyron Bernard Balinis. He's advisor for youth of human rights at sea, or HRS. Digitalization and green fuel are the future of shipping. Recently, the Philippines is again hailed as the top seafarer supplier worldwide, as published by Empedrad's Review of Maritime Transport. Is our current curriculum aligned for this advancement in the industry? Admiral Empedrad?
Yeah, if Seafarer Malinis is referring to the automated ship, certainly we have to come together again and meet, and how do we address the challenges of the automated ship, which require more technologically inclined seafarers in the future. So again, I was informed that this will be far in the future, but we have to prepare for that. And thank you for raising this up. In fact, I already gave a direction from the Maritime Industry Authority personnel, the management, to come up with a symposium or a workshop, again with the stakeholders, and to study how we can strategically address the challenges of the automated ship concern. So, and thank you for that, for raising that issue, Seafarer Malinis, and I hope I was able to address your questions.
Still with regards to the challenges of the future in the future of shipping, Mr. Paulson, may we hear your views, please? Are that the perspective of ICS?
Yeah, of course, it is. There's no question that the skill sets going forward will be over time very, very different. But I think we at the same time, I think as Vice Admiral Empedrad has indicated, this is not going to happen tomorrow. I mean, if you look at the current new building order books, particularly container ships and mainly container ships, between now and through to 2024, even into 2025, the shipyards are becoming more and more full, and these ships, I think almost without exception, are, if you like, conventional. They may be dual fuel and so forth, but they are more or less as ships that we know them today. That said, we all know the climate change challenge, which is massive, and we know that fuels will be different in the future. but it is a longer term issue, and therefore I think is one that can be deliberated and approached in a in an orderly and sort of careful manner, rather than, unmanned ships are not going to happen tomorrow. It's true there are some unmanned ships in the fjords of Norway, just for one example, but these are in many cases pilot projects. And the idea of, for example, a VLCC or a Cape-sized bulk carrier sailing unmanned, I mean, it will definitely not happen in my lifetime. And I don't think it'll happen in yours either, for that matter, the youngest ones here. But nonetheless, awareness is important, and strategically how to place yourself and how to amend your education systems to meet these likely challenges of the future. Of course, it's a big task.
A comment from our participant. He said, Francis Carlos said, we should not make any mistake that this competency challenges is part. It is right in front of us. From the perspective of the unions, may we hear from Dr. Oka?
Yes, thank you very much. Since we have the floor right now, again, let me reiterate our thanks to the Marina, to Admiral Empedrad, because he are very dynamic and hardworking and tireless leader of Marina, who has been at the forefront of everything, like from crew change to vaccination, education, and ambulance against ambulance chasing. So he has been working very hard, triple time really. So we'd like to thank him for all his hard work. And for our crew changes, I forgot to mention that since the start of the pandemic, we have been coordinating, especially, and having dialogues with international organizations, or together with our local organizations, especially with the ITF, IMET, and ICS. We had dialogues, constant dialogues through Zoom meetings, also through teleconferencing, and I think this has improved our crew change policy, thanks to our to Vice Admiral Empedrad. And we are talking about education also in MAAP. We're trying to also to future-proof our education system, and starting with MAAP. And we'd like to thank all the stakeholders here, IMEC and IMAJ, who have contributed immensely to the growing campus, and to growing our campus and our curriculum. So we are introducing also courses in electro technology, so that we can be way ahead in the future. So we can be a step ahead in the future in MAAP. As far as vaccination, I would like to really again thank Admiral Empedrad, because we at Amsoul, through our hospitals all over the Philippines, have been vaccinating seafarers, but we cannot vaccinate seafarers or anybody else if we do not have the vaccines. So with the help of Admiral Empedrad, we were able to secure all those vaccines, and we have those vaccines in storage right now, ready for inoculation. So hopefully seafarers will line up already and have themselves vaccinated. So again, thank you very much, Admiral, for those vaccines. And as far as ambulance chasing is concerned, as I said, Iris, we had a meeting, very productive meeting with Iris the other day, and maybe one day we can ask Mr. Marquez to join us also in our efforts to curb the bad practices of the ambulance chasers. So thank you very much, Lee, for that.
Authority Berceliana from ITF.
Thank you again for giving me the floor again. I think that a lot of the issue has been already discussed, but when it comes to future skill, upskilling, new skill for seafarers to be able to man the ship of the future. Obviously, as Mr. Paulson mentioned, the IMO will be the place where the technical issue will be discussed, but I think that there will be not wise for the industry not take the position of after cooperating so well together in this past 18 months to come together and to look how the industry can try to direct the discussion at the political level in the IMO, because the risk, in my opinion, is that if we leave everything to the government, they might have a different approach than the industry. They have a bit more, if you like, a bureaucratic and administrative approach, while the industry, they know themselves what need to be done, and without being presumptuous, I think the contribution that they can offer in the discussion of the future of shipping and seafarers will be fundamental. When it comes to the ambulance chaser, I think it is nothing new in a sense. It might be new in the Philippines, but it's just an extension of what is happening in the United States, especially in the cruise industry for years. And I think that I agree with Francesco partially when he said that is an issue that the government has to resolve, but I think there is a role that the industry and the union can play, probably looking at to build inside the collective agreement that they already signed together a solid grievance procedure that in a sense can cut out the lawyer that seafarers with the empty promise, and at the end they don't really deliver what they promise and leave the seafarers in a very awkward position. So I think there is a work that can be done, and but certainly I agree that the government is the first subject that need to address these issues. Thank you.
That's it. And for your wrap up, Administrator Empedrad, please.
Thank you very much, Lynn. In next week, I will be going to London for the IMO General Assembly. So, the issues that are raised here, I will certainly raise it to the IMO, particularly how do we address the automated ship coming over, and then how do we improve our international response to pandemic, crew change, vaccination of seafarers, and many other things. So we will have our hands full in this coming IMO, because it's a 2-week exercise. So certainly, I assure you that the issues that are raised here, I will also raise it to the IMO. I have a meeting with the Secretary General Kita Klim later on, and inform him on what we have done as far as EMSA is concerned, our a comprehensive report to EMSA. And even the report does not just address the issues of EMSA, but it's even beyond EMSA. And so these are the things that we can be discussing during the IMO meeting. And I'm very thankful to Marino World for inviting me with distinguished panelists with me. Again, congratulations, Lim, for your anniversary celebration today. And you can always text me anytime that you need me to be part of your program, anytime. And I'm looking forward for a very challenging December, or even a start of the 2022, addressing all the issues that are raised here. And I'm looking forward for a continuous being number one in producing maritime professionals to the world. Remember that our seafarers are very hardworking, the Filipino seafarers in particular. Some of their counterparts from other countries are going home after a 10-month contract, but our seafarers continues to stay there. They are resilient. They don't care how many months they have been in the sea. That's why we keep on extending their certificates, because they are not coming home. So my salute to our seafarers, and actually they are the backbone of our maritime industry. They are our modern heroes, and all the sacrifices that they've done in the pandemic, we cannot thank them enough. And we are here to to come up with programs that will improve their morale and welfare and improve their competency in the future. So thank you very much, and happy anniversary, Lynn. Thank you and good night.
Thank you very much, Administrator Empedrad. The relationship between the employers and the seafarers is tested with the COVID pandemic, with a lower income but higher OPEX. For now, we once again salute the reach out of Marina Administrator Vice Admiral Robert Empedrad, our primary guest. Salamat po, sir. Our sincerest appreciation to our distinguished panelists, Mr. S. Ben Pulson, Chairman, ICS, Mr. Francesco Gargiulo, CEO, IMET, Mr. Fabrizio Barcellona, Seafarer Section Coordinator, ITF, Dr. Conrad Oca, President, Amsoul, Attorney Iris Bagila, Trustee, Alma Maritime Group, Mr. Erickson Marquez, VP for External Affairs, JMG. This webinar was made possible with the generosity of our major sponsors, Amsoul, Propel, OSM Maritime, National Maritime Polytechnic, Liberian Registry, and minor sponsors, ISMED, Dula Seafront, WMOC, Next Wave, Marino Party List, Mariana Academy, Lightship, Kongsberg, Seaversity. See you again for the webinars of year 2022. Tune in to Marino World YouTube channel for more and meaningful maritime news and views. This is Lynn Bakani, your host. Thank you. Salamat po.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, my name's Fraser. I'm a serving captain on a ferry and co-founder of Propel. It's been a tough year for seafarers, working through the pandemic, ensuring ships kept sailing and vital goods continued to be delivered. I am proud of the sacrifices seafarers have made and continue to make, often at the expense of your own welfare and well-being, and sometimes brought upon by difficult circumstances and situations. We at Propel believe you deserve better. That's why we've designed a platform bringing seafarers together, enabling you to control your career and get that dream job. On Propel, there are many features to help you manage your career and find that dream job. But some of the ones I think you will find most useful are the ability to build your digital discharge book, which includes the competencies, experience and training that shipping companies want to know. No more endless hours of preparing and sending hundreds of CVs out, never to hear anything back. With Propel, you enter your information once and then relax. Propel will also provide a digital home for your certificates, monitoring their status and alerting you before they expire, meaning you will always be fit to sail. Propel also allows you to connect, network and engage with other seafarers inside cabins on our main deck to discuss the issues that matter, comment on maritime news and post shipping memes. Propel has been built by seafarers for seafarers, and we have developed Propel bespoke to your needs. At Propel, we will always be on your side, and this is demonstrated in our Propel pledges. Never ever charging a seafarer to access Propel or apply for a job. Always respecting and protecting your data and committed to ensuring that your voice is heard. So welcome to Propel and good luck finding that dream job.